All right, guys, we're gonna get back to our roots on this channel. Get back to talking about some good old greasy making money on the internet. Okay, we've only been releasing mindset videos and entrepreneurial CEO focused videos. Who wants that shit? Okay, no one does. No one wants that. Let's get back to talking about making the Benjamins, cashing in, passive income, 4-hour work week. Hashtag blessed. I'm gonna stop now. Shopify's dead. Okay, so look, we're gonna get back to it right now. Today, what I'm gonna show you is how we took one product on a Shopify store and generated over $120,000 with it, which is extremely neat because that only requires finding one product, which anyone is capable of doing. The only thing easier than that is finding 0 products, which you're probably capable of doing too. Anyway, so I don't do Shopify. This is no secret. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm a Shopify guru. I'm not. Okay, I do other stuff. I run a software company. That being said, I do work with a guy who does about $20,000 to $30,000 a day. You might have seen him in my ads. This is Matt Schmidt. He makes money. And what he's going to show you today is essentially what I just talked about. This is absolutely free. This is no pitch, no coconuts, no shenanigans. And I think you'll enjoy it. And so we're going to be releasing videos like this maybe once a week because I think a lot of you guys follow me because you want to learn about Shopify or building a business online. And I think it's useful. So enjoy.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Schmidt here, and I want to talk to you about a case study we did that had $120,000 plus in sales, and we achieved that with one single product. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So here it is. We actually had to rename the product. That's why you see the 2 different line items right there, but that is the same product. But yes, so this was between a very specific small window, which is actually cooler, but we are hitting a trend, and we'll explain that here in a little bit. You can see the window of time right there, and it's $123,232 in revenue, not profit. We did achieve roughly about a 25% profit range. Pretty typical retail numbers here, and it's perfectly possible that maybe down the road you do more, maybe you do a little less, but we're talking about revenue here, so being transparent as possible. So we did a print-on-demand design, and like I said, it was one product. We have a store that specializes in print-on-demand. This is 120,000% achievable with a dropship product. That is like the minimal thing here. The people, the end customer does not care. It does not need to be a print-on-demand for to make this happen, or a dropship product to make this happen. All that matters is that you are selling a quality product to your customer. And in our instance, we hit a seasonal trend. If you can capitalize on trends, a lot of the times it is easier to hit trends harder with print on demand versus drop shipping. Now, if you have your own product and you ship it out of the United States, you can hit just as hard, maybe even harder than a print on demand design. But print on demand gets to the customer faster just because of the location of where it's being created than a lot of dropship products. So that's just something to keep in mind. 100% can be done in either field, though. We did hit a seasonal trend. We scaled aggressively with Facebook ads, and we'll go over some strategy on that. And we used like items to drive further sales and increase the average order value. Now, this is one item. This does not include, so the 123,000 plus does not include the additional sales that came from the like items. So let's go back over to it. The print on demand and seasonal trend, right? So we'll talk about this a little bit hand in hand. We used the perfect product for Mother's Day, and it's a mug. So it's important to be situational for these trends, right? I see a lot of guys fail in this, and you really should be thinking. Just think it through. Like, it shouldn't be that hard for you, but we want to think it through and think, is this a product for the situation, right? My example here is, at the time of this video, 4th of July is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to sell a mug for the 4th of July, right? A mug as a print-on-demand product is actually somewhat of personal, right? It makes a personal statement. It's not a necklace personal, but it's a little bit more intimate than I would even say something like a t-shirt would be, right? So a son giving a mug to his mom, that's a little bit more intimate than maybe a t-shirt. Why? Because of use, right? If you have a mug, I've given my wife a mug and my wife's given me a mug. I have a Superman mug that we use almost every single day, right? And I love looking at it, and I know the backstory of it. I know where we bought it. I know everything. Like, it's a little bit more personal than a t-shirt. And so that when you're creating and crafting your print-on-demand product, you want to think about that, and you think about what it's through, right? I'm not gonna walk around with a mug on 4th of July. Now, you might sell it, but I'm talking about what we're pushing traffic to, and when I'm trying to capitalize on as much as possible and scale it to 100,000 plus, right? So just something to think about if you're trying to do trends and a print on demand or even the dropship product. What does it make sense? So I found what was trending, and I put what was there twice. So I put what was trending and went to strike via sites like Etsy and Amazon. And then one reason that I point to those two sites is that they're search engines, right? Etsy and Amazon are both search engines. And so you can start to see what people are searching for as you type things out. So like if I type in Amazon and go Mother's Day, it's going to come up with suggestions like Mother's Day mug, Mother's Day necklace, Mother's Day this. And then that gives you ideas of what you could possibly look look into selling, right? Same thing on Etsy, it's full of it, right? And I had my designers I found something, and I had my designers use a concept, spin it in a very unique direction that worked for us and worked for our market that we were currently tapped into. So the Facebook strategy, this is where it gets a little bit complicated with trends, right? There's where you think that you should start selling, and then there's where people start to buy, right? And so you got to kind of balance this. And that ties in actually too where you can actually get the item delivered, right? And so you have to think about this all the time, but you also need to really think about this with trends. Like the Mother's Day, when are people going to start buying it, right? So that's X, and then Y is your last day of orders so that you can actually meet delivery. And you really don't want to miss that delivery, because if you do, that day gets a lot less special for the person on the other end, right? For the person who purchased and the person who doesn't get the gift. So, and it gets a lot less valuable to that person, right? Think about if you went out to brunch with your mom on Mother's Day, you didn't have a gift, and then that gift showed up at your door the next day. How enthused are you in order to see that gift, right? Probably not that great, and you're probably going to want to get it returned or get a refund, something like that. And so you have to really be conscious of that when you're selling this kind of stuff, right? And that's the same. I mean, the biggest thing here is Christmas, right? You don't want to push your luck on Christmas, because if you can't meet that delivery, it's going to get rocky for you on the customer service side of things. So we play around with it, and we got to figure out. We know our date because we work hand in hand with our supplier of a last order day. And then we always build in a little bit of a cushion, right? But then we need to figure out when are people going to start buying for it. And what I want to do is kind of look out in the market. We don't live in a vacuum here and operate in a vacuum here. If I walk into Walgreens or Walmart, Walmart's great for like Christmas and, the bigger holidays, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, and that kind of stuff, right? The ones that are boom, mass big purchases of stuff, right? Or I just went to Lowe's recently. Lowe's is 100% pushing barbecue pits right now, right? And the reason for that is because people barbecue A in the summer, but B on the 4th of July, right? So once I start seeing the marketplace start shifting towards a holiday, then I know that it's going to be whether consciously or subconsciously is going to be in the back of people's minds. And so what I do is start testing on low dollar, what I call feeler ads, to see when sales start to kind of pick up. So for me, that's going to be like $10 for my product. My product's listed. I'll start doing $10 to a handful of different niches, right? So individual ones, right? And just kind of let them start churning out there, hopefully getting some clicks. What tends to happen is I'll get a lot of clicks, but not a lot of purchases if I'm too early. That's a clear indication that you might be a little early. And people are like, I might find something else, or I'll find a better deal, or I don't need this yet, or I don't need to take the time to do this yet. That's the kind of stuff that is actually a great indication, right? I'm probably a little bit more comfortable than the majority of people watching this to spend some money and to test some items. And that will be my feeler strategy for a little bit. Then, like a herd-like mentality, typically, I've done this for years now, typically one day a light switch tends to turn on and sales to start to come in, and they're coming in and they're coming in and coming in, and the market has started shifting towards purchases and, oh my God, I need to buy it for Mother's Day, or oh my God, I forgot, or I need to get this now, or it's just on the top of their mind mostly. And then retargeting really cleans up on the, oh my God, I forgot to do this kind of thing. So all those clicks that we had prior to that and the feeler guys, right? Even if I'm baking this into my overall strategy for the rest of it, maybe Mother's Day is 10% of my strategy, or my budget, I should say. And I'm just feeling it out there. And then once I see that shift, boom, I start, retargeting those people that were feeling it for a little bit. I'm kind of just absorbing those dollars because I know holidays pick up so much and I want to be out there. And if you have somebody that's already seen your product and you were willing to go a little earlier than maybe your competition was, then you have those people in a warmer audience than a colder audience where all your competition is. So that's a big part of our strategy, is maybe we even shift a little earlier than most because we want to retarget them in a warmer strategy. I get to talk to them in a different way, right? If I'm retargeting somebody, I can say, hey, you forgot this, versus, hey, do you want this? Because that our initial question was already asked. So once sales start to pick up, because of those feelers and because of the ads now clicking, we're going to move to lookalike audiences as fast as possible. That's just where the money is. This is, specifically with trend-based stuff. It always clicks a lot more than your colder stuff. But we'll move broad too, right? And we'll move broad. My overall Mother's Day strategy is to try to be selling something that can go a little broader than maybe a niche-based item. That's up to you. But even, going broad in this sense could be hitting the entire market, right? So if I'm selling to nurses, my classic nurse example, if I'm selling to nurses, I might be using interests as feelers, but I'm going to hit that nurse interest pretty hard, the one that's big, one that's broad and incorporates everybody. I'm still going to go for that as quickly as I possibly can, which might be a little bit bigger than my lookalike audiences. A big note here is hitting FOMO hard, right? Fear of missing out. Tell them, because you're not selling the mother in this instance, right? You're selling the person who's buying it for the mother. So you can play stuff like, don't say this, but like, don't ruin Mother's Day, or like, get them the gift that they've always wanted, and you forgot this. Have you ordered something for Mother's Day yet? A big thing is it's the slight guilt of saying you still haven't bought your mom a gift yet. Something like that works really, really well, and you'll clean up really hard with retargeting. So the like items, we touched about that a little bit. The mother in Mother's Day is just one word to describe the person being celebrated, right? Think about it. A mom is also a daughter, is a sister, is a mother-in-law, or even a grandma, right? And people have particular wants and needs when it comes to being called. I'm learning this as, I have a kid on the way. Grandparents and parents want to be called certain things. So watch for the comments coming in, right? Grandma, there's like 50 different titles for grandma out there that are common. Not just like, this grandma calls herself this word and nobody else does. There's several, grandma describing words that somebody might want. So in the print-on-demand world, even in the, if you're buying in the dropshipping world, you can have the name switched up in the product, right? It's always more powerful for these kinds of holidays if the name is on there somewhere, mother or whatever. But you could name it all these different things, and this has worked. I've taught this for a while now, and this is going to be something that's always class. I mean, think about gift cards, not gift cards, like a holiday card. Just go in there and look at a Walgreens or a Hallmark or whatever, and see how many different names there are for the cards, all intended for the same person, right? Or your birthday. Think about your birthday. You might get several different cards on your birthday. You're the same person, but these cards are going to be calling you different things. Brother, for me, like brother, son, husband, all those different things. So you list those as like items, right? Like items are the same basic product with a slight variance. In this instance, just changing one word can get you the person to buy that one instead, right? So they have the option. They didn't like the one that you presented them 100%. So they switched and bought this other one. Or you get somebody to buy both, right? Because Mother's Day, you might hit somebody who has a daughter that might be a mom. You might have somebody who has a sister, a person that has a mom, and maybe even a mother-in-law. So what if you are that person? You hit that person with the right ad, and they buy all four, right? Well, guess what? When the mug world, that's an 80, whatever you're charging for your mugs, that's a $70 to $80 order versus just a $20 order, right? And so that's where you really start to win. And you want to be cautious of it with the names and things like that. And this is going to switch from holiday to holiday and trend to trend. But watch for the comments coming in. Listen to the market and let the market respond to you. And then you adjust to that on the fly, both of which are easy to do in the dropshipping world and the print-on-demand world. So, bonus points. Just some final thoughts before we go over the shoulder to talk about this on the ads. But as you grow, you will be able to hit your list, right? If you've been selling for a while like I have, you have a list. Do not forget to blast these people around holidays because it's a great way to have some essentially no cost boost to your sales, right? And also, if you want to fire out, like what we do is typically fire out a really pre-Mother's Day sale or something like that. And that'll give us, if sales come in from that, if that that email blast performs, we have a clear indication that it might be time to go, right? Or you can do like one email this week and one email next week. If there's a noticeable bump there, boom, it might be time for you. So, yeah, I mean, these are just things for you to consider. If you don't have a list, no big deal. But you have a list eventually, and that'll help out for you. Especially if you're just getting started right now, if you have success with it, even if a modest success, don't forget to come out back and sell that product next year. Lots of people didn't buy from you. Lots of people. Say your conversion rate is 5%. Well, guess what? 95% of the people that saw your product didn't buy, right? And then, by the way, tons of people never even saw your ad. Tons of people are going to come into your niche. There's a whole new mess of people to try to hit next year. Maybe make some improvement, maybe make some changes. Overall, you're going to want to hit your product the same thing next year. That way you turn 120,000 into 240,000. Boom, like that. Hopefully more. And then and this is like a very situation specific, but turn Mother's Day buyers into Father's Day buyers, or 4th of July into the next holiday, or Black Friday into Christmas. Don't forget about these people, right? You can utilize the ads and lookalike audiences again, because lookalike audiences, if you do it right, will have male and female in it to it, right? So even if you hit the same person again, you could even use some psychology and be like, if you have the same mug and you switched it over from male to female, right? Or in this instance, female to male, and that person that bought the mug for the Mother's Day, right? He might tag the wife later on, and you could say something like, if you liked the Mother's Day version, check out the Father's Day version, and they might tag the appropriate person to buy it for them. So those are the easy ways of doing this, and I see this out in the market all the time. Definitely something for you to consider. use the info that you have and position yourself accordingly in the market for the switch in holidays. So that is it. Let's go over the shoulder and we'll take it from there. All right, guys, we are inside the ad account that primarily drove those sales for that time window, for the Mother's Day promo that we were talking about. And we got the same timestamp up here, April 15th to May 13th. You can see I spent $140,000 on Facebook. We do have Google in here. I don't spend nearly as much. I wish I could on Google as I do on Facebook. It would be a game changer if I could. But we have some cost in there as well. Just being fully transparent. Another thing to note, being fully transparent, we do charge shipping on our store. That is not included in that figure that we're talking about. That was just purely product sales. So you can see, or you can put some shipping on top of that as well. That's what we recommend for our students to do, because it really is a profit driver at the end of the day. And also, we don't find that people balk at that as much as others do. And what we do is, if we do get some guys that balk from it, and some people do, it's something for us and leverage for us to give away in the retargeting, right? So if we say, free shipping if you come back and order today, that is a big driver for some people who were not willing to buy because there was a shipping cost. However, we don't want to just give away that money for free. That's our philosophy, and it's worked out pretty good so far. So, if there was somebody that was willing to spend that $5, but you just willingly gave that, or whatever you charge for shipping, you just willingly gave that away for free, you missed out on that money, right? So let's just cover that real quick as part of what we did here as a part of our strategy. It is part of, especially in the closing hours of a trend, saying that free shipping for those last remaining, low-hanging fruit is a big profit driver. So definitely some bigger campaigns. You can see this one at its peak was up to $3,500 a day. Some other ones, $750. This one was the campaign that we were talking about with the feelers, and obviously that's scaled up pretty much. So we used ad sets. So like I was talking about, like individual interests, and then we scaled actually with CBO as part of our effort to make sure that we are utilizing the latest and greatest, and only teaching that to you guys. We were using CBO, and it was working out really good for this. So we saw some dramatic stability for CBO that I haven't seen in years. I can remember years ago when we were selling on Teespring, where you could simply take, if you had a shirt that was hot. This is old Facebook days. I don't recommend this anymore. Hopefully CBO maybe brings this back. But in the old days, you were able to scale shirts from $100 to $1,000, and you would still just get the same CPA. That is not as recommended anymore. You take your time. So we were able to do some scaling pretty hard with CBO. Hope to see that in the new future with Facebook. So you can see some of the spend. Again, $140,000 spend. My blended break-even point on this store is 1.45. So 1.45 gets me a blended break-even. So that is something to keep in mind. If you don't know what I mean by that, that means that I know that if I am at least above 1.45, I am profitable, right? And sometimes that didn't work out so good. And again, that is blended, right? So on mugs, that is actually a little bit better than that. I think on mugs, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think it's a little lower than the 1.45. So if I can do any better than that, and I did here at 1.96, we were able to know that this is a big profitable driver for us. And this is not retargeting. This is the main cold traffic, and we were 1.96 recorded on Facebook. If you're like me, I don't get the best tracking from Facebook. I actually lose about 20 to 30%, some days more, because Facebook is not good in tracking when somebody buys through a share, a comment, right? So if I tag my buddy, and in this instance, if I'm a mom and I tag my husband or my son to buy this for me, and that husband or son comes to the comment section and goes to the ad, Facebook has a really, and buys, Facebook has a really hard time tracking that. So what do we do in that instance? We work off of our break even, right? So if I'm at break even and know how my ad account performs in terms of tracking loss, if I can run with tracking loss at break even, I know my ad's doing pretty good. So this one, 1.96, was actually higher than that. It was probably above 2 because of the tracking loss. So that was one campaign. Here was another campaign. Let's go. There's another one. And then one big one I wanted to show you. I'll switch up the ROAS here because I do have some other products in here, but the way this worked, I pretty much was pushing this one product as much as possible. Here is our retargeting, right? So if I'm 1.4 for break even, this is looking pretty darn good for our. We had some pretty decent spend up here. It didn't boost as much as I really wanted to, but that's our main single product retargeting. So just pushing the one product, and then our standard retargeting campaign did all right during that same period of time as well, right? So if I'm 1.45, if my blended break even, 2.4 is looking pretty good. Again, with the loss that I experienced. So let's go back here. And those are, please don't come back and be like, Matt, I was working to a 1.45 break even, and I ended up losing a bunch of money. Your break even needs to be figured out, right? And you need to do your own formula. If you're in HCOM, we give you that formula. You need to figure that out because that's what you're going to run to, not me. So don't use my numbers, and especially don't run to break even if you're not comfortable with losing some money on some days, because it's not just like it holds a break even. So that's something that you need to get comfortable with as you learn. So let's go inside this campaign, the big one that with a lot of spend. You can see that this is a CBO campaign. Now, what do? We did some very big interest. At this point, when you're spending this much, right? If you're going to spend $3,500 a day, you need to go broad. So this is where I was telling you to go broad. These are actually, one is actually targeting completely broad, and that's actually the worst performer, but again, above my break even. So I'm okay with it because it's bringing people into that funnel. And it was converting, right? And if I have a 20 to 30% loss, it looks pretty good. It looks all right. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's okay. Right. And I can deal with it because I know the retargeting and things like that, and abandoned emails and Messenger was gone at this point, but all the other retargeting and SMS and everything else that we do to pick up sales after the fact, and simply organic too at this point, is going to be good. So 10% of purchase, 10% of add to cart, 10% of review content, and then a big broad interest for the niche. So you can see the different levels of spend. CBO is interesting how it goes, and link click cost is really good. Look at all those link clicks. That's 41,000 people from this ad set alone, or this campaign alone, that I could have retargeted on the view content level, right? Not to mention the people at the add to cart level, a little deeper into it. Overall, this campaign did almost 2x. Again, taking into account that the 20 to 30% loss, this looks really, really good, right? It was a huge profit driver for us, and simply the one that I could spend the majority of. And the thing to consider, and the thing, on the tail end of this is it's also the first ad I need to roll back, almost as quickly as I possibly can, because this one's going to be a big spender. And if I can't meet delivery anymore, or nobody's buying anymore, you really need to cut this one off. So, we have a mixture of it. Let's go back a little bit. Hold on one second. Facebook throwing me for a whirl here. All right. So this was a bunch of interest based, right? And you probably can't see it right now, but we had a lot that we killed earlier on, like right here. Actually, not that much in this campaign. I haven't been here in a while, but we did kill this one. It sucked. Obviously a loser here. Some rode the line, and then some were actually really, really good, and we kept those keeping up. That's 138 purchases right there, 102 purchases, 128 purchases. I mean, this was pretty good, right? But what we found with this one is that since it was individual ad sets and the old school, budget at the ad set, right? Not the like CBO, campaign budget optimization, campaign gets the budget. We couldn't scale it to the moon as much as I would want to. And when we tried, sometimes we had to roll it back, right? Because it's just the way that it is. And that's actually why Facebook is trying to do the CBO to give us more stability and more reliance on them and less on us. I know that sounds a little uncomfortable, but that's the truth, right? And so the big thing to worry about here too, guys, if I have a $20 product, which is not what I sold this for, but if I had a $20 product, I got to be mindful of my cost per purchase, right? The big thing here is for the most part, I wasn't just selling one product, right? We focused hard on the boosts and average order value through those like items, right? And if you can do that, you can, even if you break even on the one product, you could drive product, right? If I have somebody who on average, if my people on average buy 2 products, I can be fine with breaking even if it was just one product, right? But on average, I know that they're buying 2. And I'm just giving you easy math here. You have to be cautious of that, so you can keep that in mind. And that's where it's really, really important to know your break evens as well, right? Because Facebook is going to be helping you out here. Again, not giving you a full picture, but a pretty darn good one. And then if you get in, look Google Analytics and things like that, you can get a much better picture in terms of knowing, is this even profitable? Is it not? So on and so forth. If it's this, like this is obviously bad. I don't even mess with it. Like, it's obviously just one sale. It's well below. It's like a third of it, right? Of my break even. So I'm not even going to mess with it. So you got to cut your losses and then push for that retargeting. So we had single product retargeting on this. I mean, we had 17,000 link clicks here, not nearly as much as that first campaign I showed you. But you got to think, all right, I got 50,000 people plus 60,000 people, just for easy math, 60,000 people in my funnel for this one product. That's where a single product retargeting can be super valuable, right? And you want to push that as hard as you possibly can. That's taught in HCOM. And then your overall catalog retargeting is going to perform very well as well. And hopefully you have some abandoned cart emails going out and some SMS, and you're picking up these guys, maybe even on Google. Everywhere and anywhere you have the chance, you should need to pick up, especially on these campaigns. So hope that helps and gives you some insights. This is the feeler campaign. You can see where the budget went up. Super slow. However, it was very, very profitable overall, a little bit more profitable than the other one, just not as at scale. And then we pushed super hard. I don't know why Facebook is doing this. We pushed super hard on this campaign, and that's where the majority of the money came in. So there's, between these two right here, that's 100,000 in sales, 101,000 in sales. And then there's actually some more on here. But like I said, that wasn't the only thing that they were buying, right? And the great thing is they might come in and buy some stuff for themselves as well. So your big takeaways from this, guys, is that trends are great. Put your feels out there, see if you can hit them. But this can be done. I've done this several times without trends. So don't think about this as only a trend thing. You can hit 6 figures on a single product if you scale methodically, right? We teach that inside of HCOM. It's just about getting your feels out there, using interest, scaling into lookalike audiences. Utilize CBO now if you can. If not, you can still drive a ton of money through ad sets. We proved that right here. Know your break-even point and retarget and drive in profit on the back end. Don't just rely on that first initial ad because almost never your competition is ever going to be doing the work to pick it up on the back end. So if you're worried about competition, well, if you can run to slightly above break even most of your competition is not going to feel that comfortable doing that, and they're going to want to have all this money coming in from the first ad. Well, guess what? My money's coming in from A, knowing my numbers, but then B, all the different retargeting situations that I have going on at all times, and raising my average order value higher than all my other competition's going to do through the like items. And that's really where the profit can go to the moon. So hope this was helpful for you guys. I will see you inside of HCOM. If you are not in HCOM, you should check it out. Yeah, that's it. And happy selling.